Much better, because this is a spotlight panel on Phil LaMarr. I'm Gary Mariano. I'll be your semi-tour guide, but Phil will do almost all of the talking in this one. So without further ado, let's get ready for Phil LaMarr.
50 years have passed. And basically everything has been rebooted.
Well, not everything. There's still a few things that have not come back from the dead yet.
Like Dracula. Well, actually, Dracula did come back from the dead. That's what Dracula do.
Bulby is not back from the dead. Why are there always people who like Bulby so much? It's because you think no one else likes me. You're not alone.
Hey, how are you guys doing? Wow. Apparently we are on the deck of the Enterprise here. What the hell? We don't have a mic. Oh, well, it's small enough. You can just ask questions, whatever questions people have. Now, before we start, I always like to ask this. Is there anybody here who doesn't know who I am? Because that would be weird. It's like, no, I'm here because I just like the chairs. And there were chairs open. Although I did go to a convention once, and we were doing a Futurama panel because we had just gotten an order from Comedy Central for new episodes of Futurama. And there was a guy in the front row who raised his hand. He had a question. He's like, yeah, why don't you guys do more episodes? We are. That's why we're having this panel. Granted, this is the same person who, when they had an announcement over the PA at the con, said, William Shatner will be signing at 1 o'clock. He said, who? And I actually called him over. I'm like, I'm sorry, wait. You're in costume at a comic convention and you don't recognize the name William Shatner? All right, let's get a baseline. Does the name Jesus Christ ring a bell? It's like, yeah, because, okay, good. All right, we know that. But, so, there are no dumb questions. Just dumb people. Okay? Gary?
Phil?
How are you, man?
I'm good, buddy. How about you?
Good. Gary is the king of WB. He's like, yeah, I'm more the Duke.
I'm a publicist, and I think I'm more like the
Dude,
court joker.
You have outlasted the king.
That's true. That's true. I've got that going for me.
Yeah, so we worked together. When did we start?
Sometime just before Weekenders.
Oh my God. Does anybody remember Weekenders?
All right.
Carver date card. Carver likes shoes.
That was such a great show. That was like, I don't know, up there, not quite Phineas and Ferb level, but almost.
It did beat Pokemon for its 1 week there in the ratings. Took down Pokemon,
Really?
yeah, 55. There's a funny story behind that later, I'll tell you. But 55 straight weeks, Pokemon had won in the morning, and Weekenders took it #1 once. So
Where's the app?
that's right.
Come on.
Gotta wear them all.
Does anybody have a question?
We have a microphone.
Oh, we do?
You have the microphone,
I have the
actually.
microphone. All right, so I'll come down there. Yeah. We'll do this Phil Donahue style.
Here, wait a minute. Give me the microphone. I'll go and run it around.
Uh-oh.
And if nobody is asking a question, I will.
There you
sit
go.
there.
And I'll pretend that I'm at the Senate.
All right, we saw the guy with the hat first.
I have no recollection of that, Senator.
Hi.
Hey.
So you've played a lot of iconic comic book characters. You played Aquaman, you played Jon Stewart, you played Static Shock. My question is, did you do any research before coming into audition for those? Did you read the comic books? Did you talk to anyone specifically, or did you just come in?
Dude, I'm an old school comic book head. Like, the reason I started coming to Comic Cons is to meet comic book artists. Like, hey, we'd like you to come as a guest. Okay, sure. Is Neil Adams gonna be there? You know, so, I mean, when we would record episodes of Justice League, there would be actors who didn't have, you know, the background. Generally speaking, I'd have like, you know, like well, I'm playing the, you know, vigilante. It's like, oh, hold on. And I'd reach in my bag. I'm like, here, I have 7 Soldiers of Victory here. Your character is this one. I was the research department. I'm trying to think if there was anything. The one that I did have to actually do homework for was when I started working as Jazz on Transformers Animated. Because for some reason, I think Transformers came in between, like, cartoon watching childhood age and, like, getting high and watching cartoon childhood age, second childhood age. So I had no, you know, I'm like, oh, well, let me just find out what this Transformers is. Like, there are 19 versions in animation and comic. Okay. So that I had to do some homework for.
You're doing the homework, but what is it that influences the voice that you create?
I mean, more than anything, it's the creators and their vision. Knowing a character's backstory is much less important than knowing what this creator wants them to do. Do you know what I mean? Because seeing an old version just tells you the old version. They may be doing something different. Like, for instance, coming in to read for Justice League to play Jon Stewart. You know, I'd known the character, but the version from Justice League was wildly different from the original comic book version, or really most of the comic book versions that existed at that point. I mean, our version, he wore a shirt. Wasn't just like an architect in a vest. Like, what architect wears a vest? Even in the 70s. Whatever. But basically, like for that, I was, working, listening to Bruce Timm, and, it's like, in our concept, he's, a career Marine, somebody who came came out of Detroit, got out of a bad neighborhood, went into the, the armed services, came back, became a professional, and then, the ring of Aben Sur found him. So I'm like, okay. Piecing those things together, plus also with that,
Bruce Timm design. Little tiny feet, great big chest. You kind of have to have a voice like this.
Quick reminder, we have a couple of prizes for the best 4 or 5 questions.
Ooh.
So rather than tell Phil how much you love him when you ask a question, ask a good question. Start with announcing your name and your favorite Phil LaMarr role. All right, here we go.
Hey, what's up? I'm Josh. My favorite Phil LaMarr role is actually being on Mad TV. So,
Come on.
how did your background in improv and sketch lead to you being a voice actor? Are there any voices you developed during improv and sketch?
Not really, although I think the biggest help that was the ability to make a bunch of different character choices. Because obviously in improv, because I started out doing improvisation in college. Actually, it's funny, there's a friend of mine from Chicago, Eric Berg, introduced me to Del Close and the Herald back in 1985. We started a Herald team at Yale University, and we ended up coming out here to Chicago and studying improv with Del Close at Improv Olympic. And that's where I first learned the fundamentals of just creating on the spot. And then later, after college, when I went to LA and came home to LA actually, and started pursuing acting, for auditions, the ability to change up. They're like, thank you, that was really good, but could you do? I'm like, yeah, sure, I can. Yeah, let's do that. It makes things much easier, and especially in animation, where they're depending on you to do at least 3 characters, because it's a 3-for-1 deal. The ability to, it's like, oh, we have this other guy, he's, someone who works in an office that's, about to, get crushed when Green Lantern comes in. It's like, can you do that voice too? I'm like, sure, yeah.
What are we doing? I'm gonna save you.
Please save me, sir. The ability to separate the characters, to come at it from a different point. To me, the improv background feeds into that, definitely.
Do you prefer to do those voices simultaneous, back to back, or do you like to do all the one voice in a row and then one voice in a row?
It depends. It depends on how much natural separation there is between the voices. And when I started out, I remember the recording of the first episode of Futurama, watching Billy West do a scene where the professor introduces Fry to Dr. Zoidberg. So it's like 2 pages of Billy just talking to himself. He did it all in one take. And it was just like, I want to be that when I grow up. And then I think a year or two later, I was doing Static, and they wrote an episode where Jon Stewart, the Green Lantern, guested on an episode of Static. And I was just like, okay. And I really wanted to be Billy, but I wasn't Billy. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just record them one at a time.
Because the static voice, is upper register. It's got to be up here.
And this one is, all the way down here.
And my worry was that static would start to drop. Don't worry. You know what? It's less important. My ego is less important than that it sound right. So, but now I've gotten to the age where
I'm pretty comfortable, moving
From one voice.
to another.
So now I'll try to do it just so I can, impress people. Yes.
Hi, Phil. My name is Brenna.
Hi, Brenna.
I'm just curious. My favorite character is Wilt from Foster's Home. And there have been some really heartbreaking moments with Wilt. As a voice actor, have you ever had that affect you out of the booth? And how do you shake that off?
I would like to say that I'm a deep, emotionally centered person and that I really have to, take some time, drive to Joshua Tree in the desert and let it go. That's not true. I mean, one of the challenges and benefits of voiceover is you're not with the characters that long. You don't have to memorize the script, and this also may be part of the improv thing. My job, I feel, is to understand the script, read it, be familiar with it, but I don't have to internalize it the way that I think sometimes you have to do for on camera, because the camera sees all of the stuff that our faces are doing, the micro expressions, the stuff underneath our skin that we actually communicate to each other with, It's a difference because it's the way we can tell the difference between when someone is smiling at us and when they're just showing us their teeth. It's the muscles around the face. None of that enters into it with this. So for me, you feel it while you're doing it. And sometimes you have to do another couple of takes. Is that okay? Sorry. But with something like Wilt, I mean, he's just so sweet. You can't help but feel it. But then you breathe and you move on to the next scene. Where you got, Kim? Oh, you went
Hi.
all the way to the back. Hello.
I'm Jessica. I really love John Matt TV.
Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah. My question is, what was your favorite role to play, and what was your favorite comic or character in the comic?
Well, growing up, my animal, my totem character is Batman. That's the comic that I consider my comic. Obviously, it comes and goes based on story arcs and artists and whatever, but to me, the Lin Wein, Neil Adams, late 70s, early 80s Batman is the quintessential version of the character. And I feel like Kevin's voice embodies that version. Even though it came from Batman the Animated Series, to me, he sounds like those issues felt when I read them. As far as my own work, I don't think I have anything of my own that I love as much as the stuff that, I mean, honestly, you can't love anything as much as the stuff that you take in when you're like 12 and 13. It's just not possible. That's why there's stuff that's total crap that we love. Because we watched it back then, and it made such an impression on us, and it sunk deep into our DNA. Now I go back and look at it with my kids, I'm like, oh, it wasn't that good, was it? Wow, all right. But you gotta watch it anyway, because it matters. So yeah, I also, as far as favorites, it's so complicated because I've been really, really lucky. I've gotten to work with amazing creators on amazing characters and amazing worlds. I mean, I've gotten to be a Jedi, I've gotten to be a Green Lantern, the samurai, you know, so, I mean, it's impossible to pick.
Well, where would Goblins Animated fall into that love?
Yes, that's my current favorite, because it's full of my blood, sweat, and tears. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm working on a animated show called Goblins, along with my friends Matt King and Terrell Hunt. Terrell is the creator of a webcomic of the same name, and it's amazing. It's sort of set in a D&D world, but in this world, the goblins, instead of being like the little low-level characters that you just cut their heads off to get some experience points, they've decided, well, why don't we become an adventuring party and level up so that we can stop getting our asses kicked? So they take on, you know, character classes and go dungeon crawling. And we're turning that into an animated project, and we just, at the end of last year, did a successful Indiegogo campaign and raised $250,000. That's mostly thanks to the voice cast that I called in every conceivable favor, and I got Billy West, Maurice LaMarche, Jim Cummings, Matthew Mercer, Steve Bloom, Jennifer Hale, Tara Strong, and actually even got Dan Castellaneta to agree to do a cameo for us. So yeah, now we have to actually do the work. The fun part will be recording all those people. Now we're working with Jeff Swampy Marsh from Phineas and Ferb. He's got a company called Surfer Jak, and we're working with them to do the character designs and the initial animation stuff. And the one thing that I didn't reckon on being an old media guy is when you do crowdfunding, when it's over, you don't get to just do the thing. Then you got to make all the t-shirts and the pencils and the dice. So we're spending as much time as we can actually making the cartoon. But it's going. So anybody who's, you know, into D&D or just loves really good storytelling, check it out, goblinsanimated.com. Terrell once described it as Smurfs meets Game of Thrones. And it's really, really fun. Who's that? Yes.
Yeah. Hey, my name's Oscar.
Hey, Oscar.
Hey, what's going on? So being on Mad TV and having a lot of energy, and then doing voicing, and then coming back and going forth. Mm-hmm. Now that you're doing, you know, mainly voicing, like you just said with Goblins, would you come back on screen and do something more physical with your energy? Oh yeah, no, I still bounce back and forth. I guess the problem is people pay much more attention to the voiceover work. This past year I've worked on the show Lucifer. I did an episode of Superstore. That one was weird. I played a voice actor signing autographs at the Superstore. It was really weird, especially when I went in to, you know, try on costumes,
and they literally had on the rack a shirt that I owned. I'm like, oh God, art imitating life. But yeah, wait, what else? Oh, Lethal Weapon. Although the episode of Lucifer was the one that was really special. Because I'm a huge Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan. And my scene was with Charisma Carpenter. You know, Cordelia. I'm like, ah! But it's hard to fangirl when you're kissing her. What? It's like, sure, I was wishing it was Willow, but whatever. This got weird quick. Can we give Oscar a prize for the question that made me give the most embarrassing answer?
Maybe. We'll call him up at the end.
Exactly. Who's next? Yes. Hey.
Hi, my name is Denson, and I was wondering what you felt when you found out about the return of Samurai Jack and being able to complete the final season, and how did you feel going into it, and how did you feel finally being able to complete the story of Jack?
When I heard the announcement that Cartoon Network, that Adult Swim announced they were doing another season of Samurai Jack, I was alternately elated and full of abject fear. Because when they announced it, neither me nor my agents had been contacted in any way. And they had just, I think, a few months before that, done their Powerpuff reboot. So it was just like, okay, what is this? This could be amazing or not. I don't know. It was sort of weird. Basically, I found I'm friends with Gendy Tartakovsky, the creator of Samurai Jack. I'm friends with his wife on Facebook, and I like message her like, "Hey, I heard the show's coming out. That's great. What? She said, "Oh yeah, here, call Gendy." And I called him. He said, "Of course, we can't do the show without you." I'm like, "Well, I'm glad you think that." You know, and more importantly, I was happy that it was him doing it. You know, because so many things are, you know, reboots these days, which are basically just cash grabs. You know, they're like, "Hey, this sold T-shirts at Hot Topic. Let's do another one." But to know that this was coming back the right way, for the right reason, and that, you know, he had the concept, and I was like, yes. And it was beyond my wildest expectations. The episode where Jack goes on the spirit journey to get his sword back, I feel like every single background in that episode should be a painting in a museum. You know, the show was just, and the level of challenge that he gave me, you know, in coming back to the character. It's like, okay, you're playing Jack again, and it's 50 years later, he's trapped in the future, and for, you know, decades now, he's been failing at the one thing that he was born for. So he's a little messed up. In fact, he's talking to himself in his head and telling himself to commit suicide. Go. So that was challenging and actually incredibly rewarding. I felt like the show, the episodes that we did for season 5 were basically what the show might have been had it gone on for 14 years straight and evolved into this past season.
Hey Phil, my name's Connor.
Hey Connor.
One of my favorite roles of yours is Samurai Jack. And I'm a puppeteer, and something I've had chances to do is voice acting, and it's something I'd like to pursue more professionally and you know, try to get more gigs and so on. What's advice you have for people who are starting out or for breaking into the business of voice acting?
Well, it's weird because the question is how do I get into voice acting? There's an answer on a very, very, very surface level. And then there's a tremendous gap between that and what I can tell you. I can tell you that, one, you need to be able to act, without a doubt. And as a puppeteer, you know that. It's about bringing characters to life. The difference between puppeteering, voice acting, on-camera acting, stage acting, all technical. The core job is the same. You know, how do I make an audience feel what this character is feeling? You know, when you're puppeteering, you have to remember what am I expressing with this? What am I doing? When you're doing it on a microphone, that's what you have to focus on. The technical focus just shifts. When it's on camera, what is my body doing? You know? Then we get to the gap. I don't know you, I don't know where you live, I don't know your performance background, I don't know how good you are. So what you do to pursue voice acting changes based on all of those things. For some people, the answer is learn to act. For other people, the answer is move to LA. For some people, the answer is, you know, find work. For some, it's create it yourself. You know, especially nowadays, there are so many potential avenues. To me, it really does depend. And actually, for anybody else who's interested in that, because this question has been coming up a lot lately, on my Facebook page, I posted a video responding to that question, how do I get into voice acting? And I really don't say anything any more intelligent than what I just said. But with that video, there are also a bunch of links to various resources, like D. Bradley Baker's iwannabeavoiceactor.com, Steve Bloom's Bloomvox community. All of these things are things that could be really, really valuable. Is that the longest answer yet? I think so. Who's next? Yes.
Hello, my name is Trevor.
Hey, Trevor.
Great to see you, by the way. One of my favorite roles of yours is Kit Fisto on Star Wars: The Clone Wars. So I wanted to ask, what was your most profound meeting with Dave Filoni or with George Lucas, if you had any interaction with him?
No, I never got a chance to meet with George. But Dave is a genius. He's got this incredible ability to communicate everything you need to know without overwhelming you. Because a lot of the actors who come in to work on the Star Wars, Clone Wars, or other things, may have a passing understanding. Dave has all of the knowledge. He understands it, but more importantly, he knows how to tell you. It's like, okay, this is a world, you know, where these people are like, oh, okay, what you need to do is this. Oh, got it. So that's why the Clone Wars world is so well fleshed out, because people aren't trying to play Star Wars. You know, they're playing the characters. Although it's funny because something just came up at the table. I was signing a Kit Fisto and realized that sitting at the booth next to me is Tom Kenny, who actually played Kit Fisto's Padawan in the episode The Lair of General Grievous, who gets, like the goldfish guy who gets like completely destroyed by Grievous. And the weird thing is we didn't record it together, so I didn't know it was Tom. I watched the episode and had no idea, because the guy's really talented. Thank you. Where'd you go, Gary? I can never find you. There you are.
Hi, I'm Todd.
Hey, Todd.
I say favorite roles that you've done are either Static or Samurai Jack.
Static.
Yeah.
The name is Static, and I put a shock to your system.
Yeah. 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 Don't worry, I'll get it in gear. Apologies to him, but I honestly don't have a question, but I do have a statement, and that is thank you, because you truly put everything you have into these roles, whether it's Static or Samurai Jack or Green Lantern or Futurama or your live action roles, and that's what fills up this panel. And going as a kid, I never knew your name, but I knew your voice. And then I started saying, well, who is this guy? And so I started looking at the credits, and I go, oh, his name's Phil LaMarr. And I started seeing you pop up over and over and over again. And that means something to me because it's like, you get the roles because you've put everything you have into them. And whether it's Wilt from Foster's or anything in between, you know, I love meeting people like you because I know you're as passionate about the roles as we are about loving the roles. And this was when I found out you were coming, I'm like, oh crap, I gotta meet Phil LaMarr. So I thank you for that.
No, thank you. Although, I do have to say that as actors in general, we get perhaps more credit than we deserve. And voice acting in particular, I would say that I am at best a third of these characters that you love. Because without the writing and the additional acting that's done by the animators, my performance would just be radio. And how many of us are going to radio for really heart-filled entertainment? Not so much. But, I mean, thank you. I do appreciate that. But also, I mean, I have to give as much credit as possible to the writers, the artists, and the creators, because we all create these characters in collaboration with each other, you know? And it's a three-legged stool, and it can't stand, you know, without all three.
Hi, my name is Thomas.
Hey, Thomas.
Nice to meet you. I think my favorite role of yours is probably on Futurama. I think I just really enjoy. I mean, I know you play a number of characters, but I particularly.
Well, I was going to say, you were talking about Hermes?
I am talking about Hermes, yes.
Oh, you're talking about the robot preacher. You're not a robosexual, are you? You got a little. You walk like you got a tread on one foot.
So you've talked about. I'm not going to answer that one.
No, you don't have. It's don't ask, don't tell. You don't gotta say nothing.
I saw the episode. The Proposition Infinity got defeated and all that. We're good. So you have a background in a number of different fields because you have a comedy background, you have an improvisation background, you have an acting background. What do you think, what skill set of yours do you think is probably or has been the most valuable to your success and kind of your development? And what skill set do you not have that you wish you had or would like to achieve?
Honestly, I think my bachelor's was in English literature. And remember back when they taught that at colleges? Oh, I long for the days when universities actually give degrees that don't make them money.
Nope, sorry, we got football, esports, and chemistry. That's it.
For me personally, that ability to analyze text, I think has been valuable for me, for my approach. Because whenever I get something, I get a script, the first thing I do is break it down. You know, but not just on a, you know, analytical level, I also break it. It's like, okay, what is it doing emotionally? What are the pieces here? What is it trying to accomplish? That, you know, practice of analyzing things is pretty much what I do on a daily basis. The thing I wish I had better was basically everybody else I went to college with went into finance. So yes, I wish I was better at investing.
Everybody's asking for your advice. What's the best advice you've ever been given?
Wow. The best advice? I don't know. I guess I probably didn't listen to it. Somebody I remember years ago, it was like, invest in this company. The name was like a fruit or some, I can't remember. I don't listen to stuff. No, honestly, I don't know. So you don't get a prize.
That's good, because that was one of the things I was thinking about asking, so I'm glad I didn't. My name's Kim. My favorite two of your roles are probably Static and Hermes.
Nice.
But you've like done everything, so whatever.
Ain't nobody gonna say Osmosis Jones? No, you're not. Don't lie. Didn't nobody watch that show? That's why we got canceled.
I watched that show. My question is it's kind of related to the longevity of your career, because you've been working for so long and because you've been studying acting for so long. And it seems like it's all just been like roses and fancy times for you from the outside, because you've gotten to play so many big things. But would you be willing to tell us about maybe any of like the low points in your career and how you were able to cope and keep going, and like you love this so much and what kept you doing this for so long?
I don't love it. I really, if I could just get out from behind a microphone, but no, I'm kidding. No, it is definitely up and down. I remember there was a period in the 2000s where I think I had 2 shows on WB, so I was going there twice a week, and 2 shows at Cartoon Network. So like my entire week was filled. I was just going to my job every week. And then all 4 shows got canceled within the same 3-month period. And, as an actor, you don't expect, anything solid. But, at that point, I was like, oh, wow, we're picked up for a season. I could actually, for the first time, count, okay, 13 weeks, I'm going to get paid for 13 episodes. I can start planning ahead. And then it all went away. And so then I had 2 years where I wasn't a regular on a show. And it was just like, okay, well, we'll see what happens. And it turned out, weirdly, my annual income was exactly the same. But it was all one-time guest appearances on various shows. Now, from a bank account standpoint, it's the same. From an emotional standpoint, not the same. It's like having money in your wallet or having found it on the street, which is better. To me, and I said this to somebody earlier, what gets people out of this job, you're talking about longevity, is not the rejection. It's not being able to take the not knowing. Because everybody in show business is a glorified temp, no matter at what level, because any of it could end at any time. You can't force an audience to watch, and you can't control whether or not they do. So I have no friends who are immensely talented, much more talented than I am, who threw up their hands and said, I can't take it. I can't take not having control of my life, not knowing what's coming next month. I think the people who can do that, who have that temperament, some of us are crazy and just think, well, I did it once, I should be able to do it again, right? And some of us, I think, have enough confidence in the things we can control, our abilities. Like, I don't know if they're gonna like this, but I know it's gonna be good. I'm gonna go in there and do a really good performance and hope that somebody notices, and so that hope is what keeps you going, and luck.
Hi, over here with the Static Shock shirt. I'm sure you.
No. That's a Static Shock shirt.
You made for a very See, you kind of made my childhood a little bit complicated because I was attracted to animated characters. it was you and Kari Payton and just all of those characters. But my question.
Booyah!
My name is Karen.
Hi, Karen.
My question is actually kind of about the climate of the industry, the voice acting industry, when you were doing, especially like Static Shock and Green Lantern, because, you know, from my perspective, I saw you in all of these amazing roles, but when I got older, I noticed that you and Kari were the go-to for every single black character in the DC animated like series.
Right.
Like for an entire like 15, 20 years. So has that changed? Well, I mean, obviously it's changed, but like has that practice changed where you only have these two people like voice casting for this entire group that's only link is their race?
Well, okay, one, that's not really the case. Kevin Michael Richardson was there before both of us. And there are, I'm trying to think, I think really what you're responding to is the numbers. There weren't as many characters as you think. You know, the fact that it's just me and Kari is like, that means there were probably only two characters. You know, but yeah, because they started Teen Titans while we were still working on Static. And there definitely has been a shift in terms of representation. You see more different kinds of characters than you used to, you know? I mean, when we started Static Shock, that was the first African-American superhero with his own show. I mean, at all. And the fact that it was on Kids WB, you know, means that there were no articles written about it, because it's just for kids. But there were definitely a lot of other actors doing the work. And there are even more now, because there are more roles. I don't know, it's a gradual process, you know? And this year has been sort of, you know, a high watermark. I think next year will be even better because, you know, we're starting to see characters of color, you know, being the center of the stories in a way that a generation ago didn't happen, or if it did, it was about the fact that they were black, you know? Maybe next year we'll see some black heroes who don't actually have to have the word black in their name. I can dream, can I? Hey.
Hi, Phil. My name, as I met you earlier, is also Phil.
How you doing, Phil?
So this is kind of an outside-the-box question. I really enjoy the TV show Veep, and you pop up very randomly. So I want to know, like, what is that sort of process like? Because you'll just be in a cameo for like 3 seconds one episode, and then we won't see you for another season and a half, and suddenly you're in a scene for 3 minutes. And that's the same sort of thing with a lot of talented actors. So can you kind of talk about that process, and did you expect to be mildly reoccurring, or how does that all kind of work out with that show?
Well, Veep has the benefit of being one of those shows that everybody wants to be on. It's like, oh, you've got sex Emmys? Yes! When do you need me? And I actually wound up on Veep thanks to my cartoon career. Years and years and years ago, I worked on Clerks, the animated series. I think I was doing Eddie Murphy. Or actually, I was doing Axel Foley. I'll put a banana in my tailpipe for Kevin Smith. And Kevin's writing producer on that show was a guy named David Mandel, who 2 years ago took over Veep and moved it to LA and began to call in people that he knew. And he was the reason that I got cast on Veep, I think. And I don't know, I guess they liked that character enough that they kept bringing him back. but their world is so big and so fragmented that they just use characters when they come up, you know? And because it's Veep, nobody's gonna go, well, I won't do it if it's less than 4 episodes. You're like, it's Julia Louis-Dreyfus, yes. I will show up in a skirt, whatever. What do you need? Because she's someone I think is wildly underrated for someone who has like 900 Emmys. I mean, if you look at her career, like she was on the biggest sitcom of a decade and then went higher. Like nobody else from Seinfeld has topped Seinfeld except her, you know? And nobody else from Friends has gone on and done 3 other, Old Christine, Veep, you know, 2 other major series that were good, you know? Sorry, Joey. Yes. Hey.
Hello, my name is Kira.
Hi, Kira.
Hi. My favorite role of yours is Carver, so I'm really glad that you brought attention to that.
You don't look old enough to have watched Weekenders.
I'm not going to tell you my age. I almost did.
Just say you watched it on DVD. We'll believe you.
I bought it on DVD. My sister has it. She stole it from me. It's great.
Oh my God, I didn't even know it was out.
It's very hard to find. Amazon.
There you
Anyway,
go.
I think Google. Let's just go with Google. Anyway, my question is a bit of a technical question. How do you care for your voice personally, whether it's right before, you know, during the week, when you're off? How do you keep from being sick, all that good stuff?
Actually, the biggest challenge is coming to conventions. Because we forget when we're down on the convention floor that we're in a concrete bunker that echoes continuously with thousands and thousands of other people all talking at the same time. So weirdly, by midday Saturday, it starts to sound a little crunchy. The big things are high tables, so that when you guys come up to the table, we're actually face to face
And not talking to each other like this.
The other thing is with video game work, which is really, really a strain on the voice. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of video games have violence in them. Which means that every character has to die. Like 9 different ways. It's like, oh great, we've done all the dialogue. Now, and then they pull out this other script that's bigger than the dialogue script, and now we're gonna do all the death screams. It's like, okay. Okay, just give us 5 electrocutions. Short, medium, and long. And then, let's save the chainsaw till the end. But that, I've actually sort of tried to make a rule where I won't do video games in the morning. Because I find, like when you're doing something physical, you have to be warmed up to do the stuff that's really taxing. Otherwise, you risk major damage. So if I get up at 9 in the morning and then start screaming, it wrecks my voice way more than if I start at 2 p.m. after a day of talking and eating and everything is really well oiled. Then I can scream without feeling that strain, you know. Plus, I also try to, when doing something that's vocally stressful, make sure I take breaks, you know, because for me, it's about recovery time. Like, if you do this, you have to make sure you let your vocal cords come to rest before you do it again. And the other thing is just sort of a rule of thumb. Don't audition with a voice that you can't do for 4 hours straight. Because there will be things where like, oh, here's 4 lines. Oh, I'm gonna do it. Yeah, I can do that. You can do it for 4 lines. Can you do it for 4 hours? Not without bleeding from my throat, no. So yeah, don't get yourself in the position to hurt yourself.
Oh.
Hey.
Hello, my name is Carl.
Hi, Carl.
My question is actually more of an emotional question for your roles of Jon Stewart from Justice League Unlimited and Samurai Jack Season 5.
Yes.
Now, this question actually comes from a broad variety of people on the internet, and they almost all agree that they feel that Samurai Jack's final episode did not end the way that the fans would have preferred it to have ended. And there's also the matter of how come Jon Stewart as Green Lantern never appeared to make the cameo appearance in the Batman Beyond.
In Batman Beyond?
Well, it's set in the DC Comics animated universe.
Actually, there was an episode of Justice League where we crossed over into the Batman Beyond universe. Yeah, that was the episode with older Static and as well as Warhawk. Which, for those of you shipping Green Lantern and Hawkgirl, although you can, yeah, Vixen's here. So Gina Torres from Firefly was the voice of Vixen. So this weekend I'm not shipping Warhawk because Gina is so cute. I don't know why I decided to do Alan Tudyk's voice. Oh, there you go.
Actually, okay, then.
Or was your question about, did you have a question about the ending of Samurai Jack?
Yes, a lot of people, both in person and on the internet, feel that the last episode did not really have the kind of ending that the fans really want from the show.
But see, most good shows don't have things that fans would have written. That's why most fan fiction isn't that great. Now, no, I mean, what I think people are really reacting to is the fact that we wanted more. The reason we don't like the ending of season 5 of Samurai Jack is because it's the end. I don't want the end. I want it to keep going. Although my thing is, looking at it, if the ending that people think they wanted was the actual ending, we would have been The Sopranos. Oh, look, they had there's this wonderful show with all of this, action and sacrifice. And then they ended with a happy wedding where the guy who taught him sticks in Egypt came and they all sat and they watched and they had babies. That ain't the ending of Samurai Jack. That's the ending of some other show. This entire series, from start to finish, was about sacrifice. Why, for the first 4 seasons, did he never make it back to the past? Because every time he had a chance, he sacrificed it for someone else's well-being. And how was he finally able to complete the mission that he was trained for as a child? Because she was willing to sacrifice for him. What do you mean? She made the move. Hmm? He saved her from, you can look at it as a metaphor for abusive childhood. He allowed her to see the beauty in life and nature that she always had a sense of. That's the thing that separated her from her sisters. She always had somewhere in the back of her head an idea that there was something better. And he showed her, no, that something better is a world without Aku. Without her in that form. Because this is the other thing. A lot of people keep saying, it's like, oh, but all of his friends. You mean all of the people he encountered that were enslaved and living in a polluted world? It's like, they're all going to come to existence 1,000 years from now, but without being oppressed. Like, their lives are not over. Their lives just haven't become yet. And by defeating Aku, they won't have the horrible lives that they had. Everybody says, what's that? What, Ashi? How do you know? There may be a version of her without Aku. She may be an entomologist who loves ladybugs. So sorry. Yeah.
We're
Did
narrowing
you say
this down
hijack?
to one-on-one here.
Come to the table. We're going to talk about this. Although, let me put it in the other terms. If you have a choice, now I'm speaking as a black man, between saving your mama or saving your girlfriend, who do you pick? Yeah, it's no choice. It's no choice. You got to save your mama. Depends on how old she is. Nope. Not a black woman. They live forever. Yes.
Microphone on.
Nope. There we
There
go.
we go.
Hi, my name's Anthony.
Hey, Anthony.
Nice to meet you. I want to preface this by saying you made a comment earlier about no one really listening to radio. I'd like to say that I can't be the only person in this room that would totally listen to a radio show and/or podcast where your voice talents were featured.
Speaking of which, any Futurama fans here? Did everybody hear Radio-Rama? The all-audio episode of Futurama for the Nerdist podcast. So yes, you're right. Radio does have a value.
So my favorite role of yours is Marvin in Pulp Fiction.
What do you think, Marvin? You think God came down from heaven and stopped the bullets? Man, I don't even have an opinion.
So obviously you've had this amazingly prolific career. My question posed to you would be, is there a role that you missed out on or one that you kind of had in your heart, that, like a dream role that you would do? And if so, could you give us a preview of what your take on that voice would be?
Actually, that's interesting. With voiceover, I don't think there is. I mean, because, like I was saying before, the voice is only 1/3 of the character, and until you see it fully realized, you don't really know what it is. So, and basically when I look at a character that's fully realized, is somebody else doing it. I thought, for instance, I did a really good audition for Young Justice as Calderon. I thought I did really good. Then I heard Kari's audition, and he nailed it. I'm like, oh, no, that's it. And 9 out of 10 times, if somebody else gets a gig in voiceover, it's because they're better. And you hear it and you go, yeah, that's better. The only time in my career there was a role that I thought was mine and didn't get it was on Aaron Sorkin's show, the one about the sketch show, the 99 the Sunset whatever. Studio 60, yes. Because I got an audition for the role of a young black actor, Yale-educated, on a late-night sketch comedy show. I'm like, what? Hello? And they gave it to D.L. Hughley.
Hey, did you really do Mr. T, your first role while you were in high school?
My very first professional job was on the Mr. T cartoon.
Mr. T!
I played the role of Woody, who was part of... Now, those of you who are not familiar, please don't Google it, because then you might have to watch it.
We might be putting it out on Warner Archive soon.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it's like the Mike Tyson Mysteries, but without the intentional humor. Yeah, no, this was a show. I look at the show, and all I can think of is a room full of executives going, did we get all the money out of Mr. T? Did we leave anything on the table? We got the cereal. Where's the cereal? Oh yeah, that hurts to chew. Good, all right. Oh, Jesus, we forgot a cartoon. All right, let's just rip off Scooby-Doo. Yes, Mr. T was the coach of a gymnastics team. Because you know all that gymnastics he does. That went around a multi-ethnic gymnastics team that went around solving mysteries. Yeah. You know somebody just took a whole bunch of Scooby-Doo scripts and some whiteout.
It is our time is up now, Phil.
It is, because I talk way too much.
Oh, no, you talk perfectly.
And so does she.
And we had some great questions, so we need the following people to come on up here. The man with the hat that asked the first question. Brenna, Oscar, Connor, Kim, Karen, and Kira. That's a lot of K. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. What's your name, Mr. Man with the hat?
Sean.
Sean. With a. It's not working?